Yeah, good. In Chaydish, Marchesh bin Tafshin Pei Dalid. Right, we're in the discuss for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. Okay, we began a sugi yesterday, a sugi of Davish Labal Oilam, where someone is Magdish, a woman, but at this point in time, she's Magdishable. So, for example, he's Magdish a woman who's still married to another man, Magdish a sister who's married to his wife. He has the issue of Achas Ishta, or to a Shichur, or to an Eved, a Shivcha, or to a Gioiris, all before she's a Gioiris. All these kings is Davish Labal Oilam. We said Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said, and Rabbi Yochanan said, we do say, when we say Eino the Magdash Olam, is that when it's not his hand to fix something. But if he could possibly fix it, we say it's a Boil Olam. So the case was, you can't go ahead and take Truma off Mechuber. Mechuber is something that's connected to the ground. It's not Mechayev in Truma. So therefore you would separate from something that's disattached or vice versa, it would not be good. However, if you say when I disattach it, then it would be good. Why? Because you have the power to disattach it. Right? We said Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said even a bigger Kiddush, that he said disattach it and it grows a third of its growth. Even though it's not in your hands to make it grow a third of its growth, you would be able to, the truma will be good truma. So we see that a person can be magdash davish labaloilam. We went ahead and took Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and we qualified it a little more. Machlokes Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef said, Rabbi, when does Rabbi Eliezer ben Yosef say his din? That's where it's attained the level of shachas, meaning it's not a third yet, but it's worthy for animal fodder. So when do I say Eino the Magdash Davish Labal Oilam is this not Oilam B'chal? If it's a little bit Oilam, I would say it, even though it's not a third. And Rabbi Yosef said in the first lashon, even if it was just in the world to this point. And the parallel would be if you magdash an isha on the condition that whatever child she gives birth, if it's in a keva, I will go ahead and if it's in the keva, I will go ahead and be mekadesh to that in the keva. Then you be mekudeshes. According to Rabbi, it would have to be the extent that you recognize that she's pregnant, similar to shachas, where you recognize that it's a viable growth. Like Rabbi Yosef, even if you just know she's pregnant, similar to even if it's not such a viable growth. In the second lashon, you both needed shachas, needed a viable growth. That's what we were holding. Says the Gemara now on Samech Beis Amid Beis. Samech Beis Amid Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Amra Abaya, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Rabbi, Reb Meir, Kuloi Sriulahu. They're all of the opinion that other makna davish labal oilam, a person can be makna something that's not in this world. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov had Amoran, let's be just stated regarding when I just had something, even though it's not a third of its growth. And Rebbe de Tanya, Amid Aleph. There's a ism the Torah that you should not. The pasuk says, Lo saskir eved el adoinov asher yinotzel elecha miyem adoinov. An eved, do not return an eved who runs away from his master to you. Now, what's that speaking about? Rabbi Yomi b'leikech eved. It's speaking by a person who purchased an eved al manas the shacharoy akosam b'daber. So this eved shows up at your doorstep, and he was purchased by someone al manas to free him. Right? Don't return him to his original master. Heichidami Amrav Nachman Yitzchak going. The kos of law he writes to him. The kos of lay he writes to him. When I purchase you, you are acquired to yourself by now. So that's obviously that is Rebbe who's saying this, Rebbe's saying this, and it's a double Shabbat Oilam, right? Because as of yet, he hadn't freed him. Rebbe Meir the Tanya, where do you see Rebbe Meir holds double Shabbat Oilam? You are after you convert, or after I convert, or you convert, after I'm freed or you are freed, your husband dies, his sister dies, he's married to the sister, and was married to the sister, divorced, he can't marry the achas as long as his life. She goes ahead, he's Mekadesh the Yivam L'Shuk before, after Chalitza. Again, all these things right now, he can't be Mekadesha because you need an action to free her. You need an action of Chelis, an action of Geirus, an action of death. You need an action of Chalitza. Since you need one, right now, you can't be Mekadesh. It's considered a Dava Shala Boil Oilam. Rashi, again, the Rashi in the Sugya. It's something that you can't be Yod, they do right now. That's a Dava Shala Boil Oilam. Reb Meir says Mekudesh. Yes, Reb Meir says it is. Why? Because you could be Magdash Dava Shala Boil Oilam. Reb Yochanan San Lo'oime Eina Mekudesh, because you can't be Magdash Davish Olam. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, I meant Mekudeshes. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is of the opinion you are Mekudeshes. Umatam Amru and Mekudeshes by these two guys. You Mekadesh an Isha Amanas that her husband dies, or you Mekadesh a sister on the tonight that a sister dies. In those cases, right? In Mishum Eva, it wouldn't work. It would work. But those two cases creating tremendous hostility and hatred between, I'm waiting for you to die to marry you, right? Or for your husband to die to marry you, or waiting for you to die to marry your sister, that would create a tremendous Eva. But the other cases are Mikudeshes, and therefore, obviously, you must hold that you can be Magdash Davar Shabbat Fred Gemara, Menachshav Nami Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Why don't we consider in the list of Reb Meir, Rebbe, and Rabbi Ben Yaakov? Why don't we consider Rabbi Yehuda Nasi? He says, "What we do? I know Rebbe and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He was considered. He's the same man." Fred Gemara now Menachshav Nami Rabbi Akiva. Let's consider the great Tana Rabbi Akiva. Where would you see Rabbi Akiva says you can be Magdash Davar Shabbat? A woman is mechuyev to work for a husband up to a certain point. Chamesh shloim shesi, there's a certain amount that we described in the Gemara in Samach Daled in Ksubis. So that amount is meshubit to him. If she would say koinim shani oiseh lefich, she makes a neder and she says whatever I make should be considered a carbon to you. And tzarich lahafer, he doesn't have to go ahead and be mefer because the neder is not chal because she's meshubit to him. Right? She's meshubit to him on that amount. Rabbi Akiva Yafa, you do have to take it off the neder. Shemet Hadav Halav, right? Yes, I'm in a royal. Maybe she'll make instead of 5, she'll make 6 or 7. So in other words, there can be a little extra. Once there's a little extra, you have to take into account that the neder would be chal on that extra amount because it's not meshubit. So therefore, you have to take it out. Now, you have to take off the neder. But question: why should you have to take neder since she didn't work yet? It's what? It's a davar shlabal oilam. So obviously, Rabbi Akiva says you do have to be mefer on that. Holds a person could be makta davar shlabal oilam. Says Gemara, Ha'itmar Allah on Rabbi Huna, Bereid Rabbi Yeshua, by Meres, where she says Ikachu Yodai lo Iseihem, right? She's magdash her hands for their work. So it's not mash for the loda of the hands. She's not mashma what the hand produces. She goes ahead is magdash her hands. And v'yadayim isnu ba'olam. So in other words, you want to go ahead and possibly say that added to the list of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Rebbe and Reva, we should add the great Rebbe Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds you can't be makdeh of Shabbat Olam. The reason why you could over here require a farah, even though it's not in the world yet, because her hands. She's saying these hands are what are asa, and that is in the world. Okay, very good. On condition that I speak to the Sultan, I'll say, put in a good word for you. Or you're Kadeshas to me that what? I'll work for you like a poil, like a worker. Dibra Sultan, if she speaks to the Sultan of Asim poil, he works Mikudeshes. If he fills the Kanai Mikudeshes, then Lav Ain't Mikudeshes. Now the question over here is, where's the Hana? Is there Shava Pruta? Where is it? What's going on over here? So the Gemara says the following: it has to be he gave her shava pruta. Let's see Rashi. He says to her, "Hiskachli with pruta zu bim kudeshes me with this pruta. Al menas on the condition that I'll speak to the Sultan, or al menas that I'll work for you for as a poil." So, in other words, it's not the schar of the pula or the hana speaking to the Sultan. The Sultan. That's just simply a condition. But there was kesef Kidushin was a pruta that in fact you gave. Tana didon the beschar dibor by beschar pula. We say the schar of speaking to the Sultan or the schar of the work loy mekacha. Well, it's not going to be good Kidushin. Why? The yeshna l'schiris mitchila b'at soif umilvahi. Well, come on, mefarish hechisham l'rish lakish masnisa. Okay, this is a prelude to the Gemara, but I think it's important. We've had this before, fellas. When a person works for somebody, do we view it as the beginning he works? At that point in time, you're accruing a value. Oh, I'm working for a day, and I'm working $100. I'm going to make $100 for the day. So the first hour I make $12, and 24, 36, and as the day goes on, you're making more and more, and therefore we stop in the middle of the day. This part is owed; it's a halva. Or do we say no? You work the whole day, and the $100 is at the end of the day. If you hold yesh l'schiris mitchila b'ad soif, then you can't be mekadesh with the schar because that's something that you're owed, and we know by now a mekadesh b'milva is ina mikudeshes. They mekadesh milvas ena mekudeshes. So Rashi gives you the din of the Mishnah. The reason why you can't be, even though there's a hana over here, there's hana of the pool of speaking on her behalf. There's the hana of working. But that money that you're gaining, whatever that value of the dibur was, the value of the is accrued over the day. Because yesh l'schiris, mitchila from the beginning, at sof until the end. And since that's the case, that there's skiers throughout that time, if you're mekadesh with that, it's mekadesh b'milva. Thus, Rabbi Reish Lakish had to say the Mishnah was speaking that you did not use that for Kidushin, that you actually gave her a pruta, and that's just the Tanai. It's a beautiful hezbah to understand the whole Gemara. So, Nachama, for the people who just came. It says the Mishnah, Samach Gimel Amid Aleph, Ha'imel Isha, Ariyam Kudeshes Li Al Menashe, Edaber Alecha Le Sultan, I'll speak on your behalf to the Sultan, or V'esa Imach Kepoil, Diber Le Sultan, V'esa Imach Kepoil, you fulfill the condition, Mikudeshes, From Lav Eina Mikudeshes, and Amar Reish Lakish, V'hu Shenas L'Shava Pruta. That's provided you gave the Shava Pruta, because the schar of speaking to the Sultan and the schar of working, that is began the milva, since you're beginning to accrue from the time you began to work, and mekadesh b'milva ena mekudeshes. Ubesfeg gemara ubeschar loi avatanya b'schar sheherkaticha ala chamar be mekudeshes to me on the schar that I rode you on a donkey, past tense. Shayshivchech b'karin b'smina, that I placed you in a wagon or a boat. Ena mekudeshes. You know why? Because you mekadesh b'milva. Since it's past tense, you owe that to me. That's milva. However, b'schar she'arkiv schar that I will ride you on a donkey. I'll put you on a wagon or a boat and mekudeshes. Okay, so you see that what you could be mekudeshes with schar. That's the point over here, that you could be mekudeshes with schar. So says the Gemara on Reish Lakish, why Reish Lakish did you require to give a pruta for the kesef kedushin? Use the schar of speaking to the sultan, or the schar of the work you did for the kesef kedushin. You know the answer already. And if you're going to say over there, it's also speaking when it's a shava pruta. You can't say that. Why? Because he said, "Be mekudeshes to me, the schar that I will put you on the donkey, but the schar that I will put you on the ship." So obviously there wasn't any other money besides the schar. Tanya, shev imi b'tzavsa, sit with me, accompany me. The kadishlach, schoik lefanai, make laughter in front of me. Rock lefanai, dance in front of me. Asa kadima say, make for me like this building. Shamin, we evaluate. Im yesh b'shavar pruta mekudeshes and lavein mekudeshes. So you see that what over there, she will mekudeshes if it's worth a shavar pruta. The chitei mahachanami, you'll say it's speaking. B'di yav la shavar pruta, that is speaking where you gave a shavar pruta. But shamanasa kamar, it's mashma, you're evaluating the action of building or laughing or dancing. So obviously over there, you see your mekudeshes with the schar. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, why did Reish Lakish have to say the Mishnah is speaking where you gave a pruta? Why didn't the Mishnah simply speak where your mekudeshes with the schar of speaking to the sultan, and the schar of what? Of working. So what's the answer? Because he holds that yesh l'schiris mitchila v'atzaif. That's the answer. He yufted Reish Lakish. I'm not Reish Lakish. Hatana bara. The Tan of the other brises that says you mekadesh with schar is speaking enis l'schiris el l'besoif. The money, there is no money until the end. So therefore you be mekadesh at the end with the money there, because there was nothing owed before. In other words, there's nothing owed before. If you don't finish the job, you don't get a dime. You don't get a dime. According to Yesh l'schiris b'tchila v'atzaif, whatever you accrued, you'd get. The Tana Didon Sava, our Tana, who holds that you have to give a pruta, is speaking yesh l'schiris mitchila v'atzaif, right? Yes, schiris from the beginning to the end, and memela, since there's schiris from the beginning to the end, if you would use it, you'll be mekadesh b'milva, because as soon as you started working, that becomes a chayv, and therefore he said it's speaking where you gave kesef kedushin. Fred Gemara. Umay duchti the Reish Lakish lo ukmi the mastisan b'yeshna l'schiris mitchila v'atzaif u'the yovlei law. In other words, what forced him to say that? Guys, you could have said following. Guys, look at me. I could have two ways to mekadesh this woman. I could either give her a pruta, or I can say she's mekudeshes with schar. Good. You read the Mishnah literally. It seems to say The actions that's facilitating the Kidushin is the speaking to the Sultan or the fact that he's working for her. Says Rish Lakish, it's not true. The Kidushin is because he gave money. I gave money. And that is just a Tanai to that Kidushin. Why did Rish Lakish opt for that direction when you gave a pruta and going with the svara of that you mekadesh b'milva because yesh l'schiras mitchila b'tzayif? Why didn't you learn that schar and learn like the brisa? Ein l'schiras ela b'tzayif. You don't view it as accrued. You view it only at the end, and you're going to get the schar for speaking and the schar for working. What forced them to say the former rather than the latter? That's the Gemara's kasha. Amar Rava, Masnisan Kashisa, the Mishnah is shver. If you're going to say it's speaking about just the schar, it's shver. My area the tani al menas. Amar Reish Lakish. It says the Mishnah. Al menashe daber lech l'satan. Right? What al menas? What do you have in al menas? Just say nisni b'schar. Learn ha'im elisha hayat mikul deshes b'schar she'adaber lech l'satan. B'schar she'asa ima kipayel. Why didn't it just say the word schar? Why did it say al menas? El shmamina kol al menas is heicha diyav lehu. Anyone who says al menas, here's what you're saying, fellas. Look at me. Here's your shava pruta. And this Kidushin on this shava pruta is al menas that you do this, that you speak to the consultant, that you work for me a day. Because if you weren't giving it, it would say al menas. You'd say the following. Hariyat mikudeshes li in the schar, then I'm going to speak to the sultan. Hariyat mikudeshes li on the schar, then I'm going to work for you. But it didn't say that. It said al manas. So what does al manas mean? Al manas makes it a tanai. Tanai on what? A tanai means on kedushin. What's the kedushin? The shava pruta. Beautiful Mishnah. Beautiful. Clean, neat and clean. Neat and clean. Next Mishnah. Al manas sheyirtza abba. This is your kedushin. Al manas that your father wants. My father. Al manas sheyirtza abba is aviv shel chasen. Rotza ha'av mikudeshes. Now, what's it speaking about? Exactly what the Metzias is, we'll see. Mesa Av, if the father dies, how do you know if he wanted or not? If he died? So that's going to be the discussion in the Gemara. Mesa Ben, Melamdim Ma'av, Loimar, Shena Reitza. We don't want her to fall to Yibum. So what do? We say, tell the father that he doesn't want. She's a gerusha, and there's no yibum. No, she's not a gerusha. She was never married. She was never married, and therefore there's no yibum. Okay. So we have the following. The first case. This is a kedushin al manas that my father wants. If the father wants, it's good kedushin. If he doesn't, it's not good kedushin. Second case, if the father dies, it is good kedushin. Third case, if the son dies, then we tell the father to go ahead and say he didn't want, and therefore they were never married, and there's no yibum. Now, my almanas sheyirtza abba. What are we speaking about? Ilema ad oma abba in. You need a positive action of the father to state openly he wants the kedushin. Ema mitziasa, the middle case. Mesa av, if the father dies, harizubu kudeshes. But 1 second, v'aloi amar in. In other words. Obviously, it's a second case. It must be he didn't say anything. So if the first case is that he must say something, then in the second case, why would it be Mukudeshes? He never acquiesced to the Kedushin. He never said yes. Ella amid beis. Ella, it must be, it's speaking, al menas sheyishtoik abba. This is the condition, and we say at sheyirotze till my father's quiet. In other words, that he doesn't make a macha. He doesn't say anything. So now, first case, if the father doesn't say anything, mikudeshes. If the father dies and now he can't say anything, mikudeshes. Okay. Ema seifa, meis haben, melamdim esa'av loima, she'ein eratza. We tell the father to say he doesn't want. But 1 second, amai, v'hashasik. Right? He was quiet. And if he was quiet, what do we say? It's a good kedushin. So, you have a problem. If you're going to learn the 3 cases of the Mishnah where the father just doesn't have to say anything, you have a problem. What's the problem? Case number 1 works out. This is your Kidushin on Manas my father wants. That means he's quiet. Father's quiet. Father dies. Father's quiet. Okay. Son dies. Son dies. Father's quiet. So how can he teach him to say he was already quiet? It was already quiet. So Mesa ben Malamnas Ablaim Meshena right Samai Vashasik, right? He was quiet. So how is he able to go ahead what and reject the marriage? He was quiet. So if once he was quiet, the Kidushin was chal, and the Kidushin was chal, he can't reject it. Says the Gemara, Ella, you got a problem. Ella must be Sha'ama lo al menashla yimcha abba. It must be not that the father is going to be quiet, but on the condition my father doesn't protest. He didn't protest. So in the first case, the father doesn't protest. Then what? Good Kidushin. Second case, the father died. He didn't protest. Good Kidushin. Third case, the father didn't protest yet, but if the son dies, we'll tell the father to protest. Guys, go through each one now. Right. First case, why is it good Kidushin? Father didn't protest. Second case, why is it good Kidushin? He's dead. He can't protest. Third case, you tell him to protest. Why? Because we don't want to fall into Yibum. Now, if that's the case, right? Reisha b'chat taima. Okay, you know why? It seems that only the last case is Meicha. We kept the first case. We kept the first case. I think here's the problem, guys. If the first case is that he's not Meicha, right? So that means anytime he's Meicha, he can ruin the marriage. Let's say they get married, and then a year into the marriage, he says, I don't want the marriage. He could annul the marriage. So it must be that he said, I'll be quiet, right? And he was quiet. And he was quiet, he filled it. So the Reish is going to stay with Yishtaik, the first two cases, and the last case is going to be where he's Meicha. So they have Amalei, Al-Manashla Yimcha Abba. Okay? So the case is that what? Al-Manas, that the father is not Meicha. Reisha b'chad taima. The Reish is speaking Al-Manas that I was quiet. Umitziyasa, and case number 2 where he died. The Sefer when the son died. Chad taima. That's speaking Al-Manas shalai yimcha. So you have the Mishnayos, 3 cases with 2 different reasons. So we want to know the kasha. Reisha b'chad taima mitziyasa v'Sefer b'chad taima. So Rabbi Yanai says Rabbi Yanai in. Yeah, that's pshat. The Reisha is one timer where the father was quiet, and the Sefer was with Amrei Shlakish. Shmamina Rabbi Yanai. From Rabbi Yanai, we say, will be doichik and say the Mishnah speaking betray taimi, rather than say that what? That it's speaking about one Tana with 2 reasons. I'd rather give 2 separate reasons. Right, 2 separate reasons, and different Tanoim, rather than one Tana with 2 different reasons, rather than 2 Tanoim with 1 reason. It's all 1 reason. I'm going to make the whole thing work. It's not speaking. We said I'll be Meicha. It's maybe Meicha up to 30 days. See again, the reason we said in case number 1, fellow was quiet, was because if you say it's your Kidushin, as long as I don't complain, then you're leaving it open-ended. You're leaving it open-ended. So therefore, a year into the marriage, he complains the marriage is void. So we set time where he was quiet. So now the Gemara is going to say, no, it's speaking throughout that, but we're going to give the limitation of 30 days. The whole Mishnah is 1 time. That the father is not Meicha from now until what? Until 30 days. That's the case. If you look at Rashi now, to go down right before the words of the Mishnah, 6 lines up. And you gave the time that you could protest, 30 days. Hilkach, Case number one. The father wants, what does that mean? 30 days passed and he didn't say anything. What does that mean? Mesa Av, if the father dies, because he wasn't Meicha. That means Su Man Machi. Mesa Ben Shloshim, to be Meicha. Let's go back to the Mishnah and stick it in, guys. Let's stick it in the Mishnah. Go back to the page. Al Menashi Yirtza Abba Rotza Ab Mekudeshes by not protesting within 30 days. Vim Lav, but if he does protest within 30 days, Ein Mekudeshes. Mesa Av within the 30 days, and he wasn't Meicha, Harizu Mekudeshes. Mesa Ben within the 30 days, Melam de Ma'av Loima Sheni writes there. We say tell him to protest. And that's so now it comes out according to one Tana with one reason. See what again? The problem with the first time was if you left the moicha open-ended, then you could end the first marriage any time. So therefore, by going ahead and giving closure to 30 days, it makes it more palpable.
So in the last case, if the son died after 30 days, it Niyuba.
If the right, sure. Last case, then it's too late. He wasn't moicha within 30 days. Okay, this mission is packed. Kedashti es biti. I was mekadesh my daughter. Kedashti es biti. Ve'eni yoidei elami katshia. I don't know. Now, the father can mekadesh a daughter when she's a naira. He can even send a shliach, and he doesn't know. He knows he accepted kesef kedushin, but he doesn't know from whom. So this woman, guys, is what? She's us on the whole world. Nebuch, this girl cannot marry anybody. She's us on the whole world. Ubo echad v'omar ani kidashtia. Comes along a fellow and says, I was mekadesh her. Nemon, he's believed. Now, what does believe mean? Believe to give her a get, or believe to say they're married? In other words, is he nemon to mata her, to take off the isser that she's us with the whole world, or even to the extent to they're married? That's going to be machloikis amroyim. Zo'imani kidashtia, ze'omni kidashtia. This one says I was mekadesha, and this one says I was mekadesha. Two men show up. Now, only one of them is clearly lying. Shneim noisem get. They both give a get. The matzah echad noisem get ve'echad kainis. And if you want, one can give a get and one can marry. Very, very difficult Mishnah. Rashi says very little. Shneim noisem get la tir lacherim. Good. Now, Omarav, the first case. I was mekadesh my daughter, I don't know to who. Comes along one person and we say what? He's Nemon. Says Rav, Nemon litain get, they Nemon lichnois. He's believed to give a get, but he's not believed to marry her. Nemon litain get, ein odem choyte v'loy. A person would not go ahead and do an aveira unless he has something to gain. So when he goes ahead and says, I'm married to her, right? What does he have to gain? What does he have to gain by freeing her? If he can't have enough from it, if he can't marry her, then he's not going to do the Aveira. So it must be what? He's telling the truth. So if that's the case, why can't he marry her? It seems to be counterintuitive. They'll say his Yetzirah was taikif. Now, the side of this Gemara is the next piece, and it's based upon Rashi. So let's see the next Shita. We'll go to Rashi, and then we'll speak it all out. So again, the Shita of Rav, you are Nemon to go ahead vis-a-vis to free her, but with the svar of a person who won't do an Aveira, saying he's a husband if he doesn't have anything to gain, right? But he's not Nemon to go ahead and marry her. Rabasi no, Af Nemon Lichnois, Rabasi says he's even believed to marry her. He's even believed to marry her. And why? Says Rashi, guys, let's see this right. This Rashi is the key to the sugya. Af neman lichnis. A person doesn't have the chutzpah to go in front of the father. Shekibel ha-Kidushin, who accepted the Kidushin. Anihu, I'm the guy. The mirsis, because he's scared. Dilma makashle. Maybe the father's going to say, I don't know who was Makadisha, but I know it wasn't you. V'amar yadana delav at yav le-Kidushin. The fact that this guy shows up with the svara of Mirsis, the svara of he's scared. That gives him ne'emanis. Guys, we know in halacha, there are certain halachas of mirsis that a person will be scared to lie. We know le'inyan issa veheta, that yotzav v'nichnis, if a person goes in and out, the person is scared that the person is going to go ahead and find them doing something wrong. There's a svara of mirsis. So this guy is taking, if this guy's lying, he's got a big how should I say it? A lot of chutzpah. He got tremendous chutzpah, right? What's he saying? He goes over to the father who says, I don't know his Kidushin. He goes, it's me. Father look at him and says, like, oh, I never saw you in my life. Since that possibility exists, it must be when he does show up that he's telling the truth. Says Rav Asi, therefore he can even marry her. Says Rav Asi, he can therefore even marry her. He can marry her. Says Rav, well, listen. Says Rav. Says Rav, he's showing up, right? And he has nothing to gain by freeing her, right? He's nothing to gain by freeing her. But again, I won't let him marry her because maybe it's Yetzirah. Okay, that's the machloikas. Okay, now Ravasi Amar Afnem Malichler. So Moida Ravasi would be Moida, but a meres when she says Niskadashti, ve'eno yedas lami niskadashti. I accepted Kidushin. I sent a shliach to accept Kidushin, but I know to whom. Ubo echav ama kidashtia. And guy shows up and says, I'm the guy. She'ein nemon lichnois. Then she not believe. Then you not believe, right? What's the reason? Because he's scared of the father. He's not scared of her. Listen, she accepted Kidushin. She doesn't want to be in a state of unrest. She looks at this guy and says, hey, looks pretty cute. You know, there's nothing wrong with him. Hey, tav l'mesiv tandai l'mesiv amrolai, better to sit together, right? So therefore, he's not scared because she'll cover up for him. And the Mela, there, he's Maida, that what they're not married. So Rav Asi disagrees with Rav regarding the father accepting the Kidushin with his svara of Mirsis and agrees with Rav by the woman because there's not the svara of Mirsis that Rav would cover up.
Did she accept Kidushin personally or it was through a shaliach?
Either way, it doesn't make a difference.
Why he wouldn't be afraid to confront the shliach?
What?
He wouldn't be afraid to confront the shliach? The shliach could say, I never gave it to you.
Even if it's al yidei shliach, so she knows she's mukudesha, she's confronting the woman. He's not confronting the shliach, he's confronting the woman.
Well, let's bring the shliach.
The shliach could accept, in other words, I brought in the case of shliach simply to tell you this is a possibility of how this could happen. In other words, how is it possible that a woman doesn't know who she's married to? Maybe the shliach comes back and says, I accepted Kidushin. Now the shliach's gone. But he's confronting the woman. Clearly, you'll see from the flow of the Gemara and the svara of Sheva Mechaper love shall cover up. It's going on the woman, not the shliach. Okay? Again, we said two guys came, they show up to the father. One guy says, I was, the other guy says, I was. So, echad get v'echad kindness. Now, according to Rav, how is it possible that one can marry her? So, to the Rav. It says, upshlag on Rav. Amalach Rav, shiny hasam, the kivin the ikka achab hadei, here's susei mirsis. Since there's another person there, right, he is scared. Since there's another person there, he is scared that he's scared, and therefore, if he says, I married her, it must be him. Says Rashi, Mirsis meikara, he's scared, Shema Yakira Av Shechaveri Kitsha, maybe his friend will recognize the other guy's the guy, the father, V'leihu, V'haikushta Amr, and therefore he must be telling the truth. And therefore, and he's worried, 1 second, you know what? This guy, maybe he's the guy and he gives a get, but therefore he has the svara that he's not scared to show up. Why? Because there's another guy with him. Interesting, svara is over here, right? initially, when he claims that he's Makadishar, he's choishes that the Sheni is the one that was Makadish, the truth, and the father recognizes him. And in other words, I don't know what he's thinking, but if this guy is not scared, it must be he's the guy. So therefore, what does he do? He gives the get, and therefore the other guy must be the guy. That seems to be the svara over here. Rashi again, one more time. Initially, he's scared. That his friend, that the father will recognize that his friend was the one who was Makadish. Who? And the guy's telling the truth. And maybe he forgot. And therefore what? He's going to give the get. Now, I'm a little having trouble with the svara over here. Okay, that's the Gemara. Says the Gemara Vaita. Hanikabasi the Ravasi, that where the father, he would even believe to go ahead and marry her, when it's only the father. Kadashti es biti be'eni yadei alimi kadashtiya, u'bo'echav v'ama kadashtiya, afneman lichnois. That's a right to Ravashi. Kanso ba'achav v'ama ani kadashtiya, like kolimino. The guy doesn't have the power to do it. Love. So once he marries and someone comes up and says, I'm the guy, he's not believed. A woman says, Niskadashti, Veni Yadas, Lami Niskadashti, but I don't know to who. I'm the one, a Nemon Lichnois, love. Because she's going to, this is Rabash, because she's going to have Rachmanis on him. She's going to cover up and say, okay, this is the guy. Okay, that's the riot to Ravasi. So again, by the father, yes, believed. By the girl, not believed at all. By the father, believed across the board. Iboilahu, Ma'al Lisko. The father says he accepted Kidushin. Good. No one shows up. She's Mizana. She's a Naira. What's the din of a Naira? A Marasa? That's Mizana. She gets Skila. The father now monist to go ahead and kill her or not. So Mahu Lisko Rav Amma ain't cycling. Rav says she will not be, father's not believed to kill her. Ravasi Amma cycling, the father is believed to kill her. Rav Amma ain't cycling. Ki himne Rachmana la'av li'isura. When do we believe the father? That's the Asa. The Katala loy himne, but to kill not. Ravasi Amma cycling the Kulin Musa. Himne Rachmana. Third believes the flav totally across the board. On Ravasi, Umaydina by Meris, I'm Moida, forget the father, but I'm Moida by Meris Niskadashti that I was Makadesh, Shane cycling. In other words, a woman says, I accepted Kidushin, right? I accepted Kidushin, that what? And she's Mizana, that she's not believed. Okay, guys, outside. A father midoraisa has the capacity to marry off his daughter. Espiti nasati lishazeh. So therefore, if he says that, we believe him. A woman says, I accepted Kidushin from somebody else. If there's no Eidim, the halacha is Shavit anafshei chaticha di surah. We're suing ksubis. She has the ability to go ahead and make herself into a piece of Issa, right? Shavit anafshei chaticha di surah. So there's very, very different points over here of belief. The fathers believe machmas the Torah, the speech in the side shazeh. She's believe Ashavi anafshei. So even Ravasi, who says you'll get skila based from the father, it's because the father is believed. But the pasha of Shavi Anashik the Surah is not strong enough of belief to give skila. So that's the hezbollah of the Gemara over here. Right? Ravasi, Modina be Omes Niskadashti, when I say Niskadashti, and she's going to be also on the world as Shavi Anashik the Surah, Shane Cycling. Ravasi, Hani Shmaitza Didi Mefarsin Igri. This sugya that I said is Mefarsin Igri. Rashi says, Misharbo is Gagin, it breaks roofs. And addicts, Kloimar, Koshais l'shaimim, Sheinim Mevinim Taimam. People will not understand it. Now, basically, here let's see what's not to understand. There's two venues and two halachas: father-daughter marriage, father-daughter skila. Said Rav, if the father marries off, right, believe get. So we see that what the father says he's you believe. But we're interested in Ravashi. Ravashi says, guess what? It's tremendous kula. You know what? We'll believe it to the extent even to remarry. Good. Believe it even to the extent to remarry. That's Ravasi by the father marriage. Ravasi by the father mizana, right? Father mizana, what will be machma to give skila. Okay, that makes sense. Will be makel to let her marry, and then will be machma to give a skila. When the girl says she's not believed, and therefore we're machma that she's not believed, and then the woman says, right, then certainly we'd understand no skila. So it doesn't make any sense. In a place where we're machmir, guys, here's this kasha. In a place where we're machmir, where the woman says, "I was married," well, we're machmir, we don't believe her. Right, we don't believe her to marry. If the guy comes along and says, "I did it," Ravasi's moida, they're not married. Good. So a place where she's not believed, we're machmir to say that we're machmir to say that she can't get married. In a place where she is not believed, no skila, we certainly would take her statement to be true, right? So why by the father, when the father says he's makel to allow it to get married, we're going to be machmir to give skila? So it doesn't make any sense. If you're machmir, you should get skila, and if you're makel, you shouldn't get skila. Those are the things that are breaking up over here that don't make any sense. Let's see it in the Gemara. Says the Gemara. So my four dinim is mafresin igri. They break down addicts. Hashta uma b'makam shembo lichnois. In a place where if you wanted to marry her, kindness, you marry her. That's the father, meaning we're makel. Oimim cyclin makam shembo lichnois. In a place where you want to marry her, the woman ain't kindness, ain't a din shecyclin. It's not a din that you shouldn't get skills. So it doesn't make any sense. Why? In a case where we're makel, right? In a place where we're makel to give skila, a place where machmish, you shouldn't get skila. You should get skila, right? Ain't a din shecyclin, you should get skila. Again, one more time. In a place where we're makel, we're allowed to get married. You get skila. In a place where we're machmir, not to let her get married. Ain't a din that she should get skila, and you don't. It's not a problem at all. La'av himna rachmana. The father, the reason he gets skila because he's working with her as ne'emanis, speaking the side shazeh, and therefore the father would be believed to go ahead and according to Ravasi can create skila. So the reason why when the father says, even though we're makel to allow her to marry, we get skila, it's because the father said, and the father has the ability to mekadesha. But the pasha of Shavi Nashi Chaticha Disur, where we're machmir and says you can't get married, that ne'emonis of the isha doesn't create skila, and therefore it's not even a problem. Says the Gemara, Rav Chisda Amar Echad Zev Echad Zein Cyclin doesn't make a difference. The father, the daughter, no skila. The other Rav Chisda Tamei, number of Chisda, Benizeh. The father says, my son is ben Tisha Shana of Yamechad, meaning he's a ben Bia. Biti Zeh Bas Gimel Shana, meaning she's a Bas Bia. V'Yamechad Nemon lekarbin, to create a carbon. If someone's over b'shoigeg, you have a chi of carbon. Avaloy lamakis, to give makis, you wouldn't not believe loy la'einshin. Then use the skila would be an einish. Tanya Kavasi Rav Chisda Beni Zeh ben Yud Gimel Shana of Yamechad. Biti Zeh Bas Yud Beis Shana of Yamechad. Nemon lenedarim lecharamim le'egdeishos. If they make chayrim, it's the chasim, or bedek abayis, the kachim, they be kodesh, or erchin. They all believe that. You know, they have the power through their mouths to create isurim. They would not be believed. Everyone should have a great day.